All right, today we are going to talk about solving multi-step equations. So we've talked about distributive property, we've talked about combining like terms, and we've talked about solving two-step equations. If you don't remember those topics or you need a little refresher, I have some videos in my YouTube. We're going to take all those three things and we are going to put them together. So let's take a quick reminder of what those are. Then we're going to solve three equations, and then you are going to be able to confidently say, I can solve multi-step equations. So the first thing again is the distributive property. You think about whatever is on the outside of the parentheses gets multiplied by everything on the inside. The phrase I like to use is, who is knock, knock, knocking on parentheses door. So when I multiply A times B, I get AB. I multiply A times C, I get AC. So that's the distributive property. The next thing we learned about is combining like terms. So you think about whoever's on the same team, if they have the same jersey, just like we know when we're playing Mario Kart and we have the Battle Blast or Battle Royale, we know they're on the same team if they have the same colors. So for our example, the 2x and the 4x are both on the same team. When we combine them, we add the coefficients, which are the numbers that are attached. We get 6x plus 4. And that's combining like terms. So those are just, there's no equations here. And then the two-step equation actually has an equation where you need to balance it. And so our two-step equation would be something like 2x plus 6 equals negative 12. You want to get rid of the third wheel and then break up the couple. That's the phrase I use. So we get rid of the 6 with subtraction, and then we get the x by itself with dividing. Now our goal for these equations, again, is always the same. Isolate the variable. So if we can get the variable by itself, that is our goals. But we're going to use all three steps in our equations. So here's our first example. If I were to have 6n plus 8 times 1 plus 3m is equal to negative 82. So I'm going to go through each thing. Distributive property. I want to get rid of these parentheses. So who's knock, knock, knocking on parentheses door? We've got 8. 8 times 1, and that's going to be 8. Then I have 8 times 3n. 8 times 3n is positive 24n. So we just did our distributive property. Everything else comes down with it. Then you want to think of who is on the same team. You have 24n and 6n are both on the same team. When we combine those two, we get 30n. We just bring down the 30n, and we didn't do anything with 8, so we just put it next to it. And look at that, we've got a two-step equation. So again, the first thing we did was a distributive property. The next thing we did was combine like terms. Now we're solving a two-step equation. Math always builds on itself. So my third wheel, or my constant, the one not stuck to the variable, is 8. We're going to subtract 8 on both sides. We then get 30n over here. This goes away. We have negative 82 minus 8, which is negative 90. Now you can always pause the video and work on it yourself. Try it out first, because we've done two-step equations, to see if you can get it by yourself. Then we're going to divide by 30 on both sides, and n is equal to negative 3. Again, you've got calculators to help you out as well. All right, let's look at 2 more examples, and then you've got this. Now, these problems are long. They're going to take a little bit longer than your average one-step equation. You're going to get into higher level math, and that's what happens. Because in life, you're going to have some challenging problems that take a little bit of time to do. All right, example number 2, if I have -1 plus 2 times the quantity of 1 plus 8k is equal to -95. All right, first things first, we need to do distributive property. We can also just put our line down the equal sign if that helps you. So what number is knock, knock, knocking on parentheses door? 2 times 1. So 2 is right outside that parentheses. We're multiplying 2 times 1 and 2 times 8k. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8k is 16k. I bring everything else back down. Since it's a positive 2, we put a plus, and we move down the -1 and equals -95. Next thing, we are going to combine like terms. Who is on the same team? This 2 and this -1 is going to be on the same team. They don't have a jersey on, so we're going to combine them of 2 minus 1, which gives me 1. Now I have 1 plus 16k is equal to -95. Look at that. I have a 2-step equation. I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides. 16k is equal to -96. In order to get k by itself, I need to divide by 16. K is then equal to -6. Again, I still did the same process. The distributive property. I combined like terms. Then I did the 2-step equation. Last example. This is my advice. Write this example down. Pause the video. Solve it on your own. And see if you got it right. All right, equation number 3. -6 times 1 minus n plus 4n is equal to -86. Again, pause the video. Solve it on your own. Then you can see where you might have gone wrong if you got it wrong. If you got it right, then you're having some confidence and you're on your way. So I'll give you a second to pause that video. Try it on your own. You are capable. All right, now that you paused the video, let's put a line down the equal sign. We're going to see who is knock, knock, knocking on parentheses door. -6 times 1 is -6. -6 times -n. That gets me, remember, there is a 1 in front of that n. So -6 times 1 gets me -6. -6 times -1n, and negative times negative is a positive. So we have a positive 6n. Then we're bringing down 4n is equal to -86. Hopefully you got that right. And you're like, if you didn't, maybe you forgot that there was a 1 in front of that n. Maybe you forgot a negative times a negative is a positive, but you learn from your mistakes. So we then have 6n and 4n are both on the same team. When we combine those together, what do we get? 10n. So we bring down -6 plus 10n is equal to -86. We have a 2-step equation. We are going to add 6 to both sides. Now we have 10n is equal to -80. We are going to divide by 10, divide by 10, n is equal to -8. Hopefully you tried that one on your own. You saw that we did the distributive property. Then we did combining like terms. Then we did the 2-step. All right, hope you enjoy. Have a great day. Bye.